The morning sun crept softly across the hardwood floors, casting golden patterns that danced around the edges of the bed. Before my alarm could even start its familiar melody, I felt the gentle nudge of a cold, wet nose against my cheek. My dog, Max, was already awake, tail wagging with anticipation, eyes bright and eager for the new day. Today was different. Today, Max would choose every step of my day, and I was ready to surrender to his whims. I rolled out of bed and looked down to see Max, sitting expectantly, leash in his mouth. No hesitation. He wanted a walk, and he wanted it now. As I laced up my sneakers and clipped on his harness, I felt a spark of excitement. What could a day shaped by Max's instincts and desires look like? We stepped out into the crisp morning air, the world quiet except for the chirping of birds and the soft padding of Max's paws on the sidewalk. Max led the way, nose to the ground, following scents invisible to me but utterly compelling to him. Instead of our usual route, he veered left at the corner, pulling me toward the park. Dew glistened on the grass as we entered, and Max bounded forward, his energy contagious. He stopped to greet every dog we passed, his tail wagging furiously, his body language open and friendly. Each encounter was a mini adventure. Some dogs were shy, some playful, but Max greeted them all with the same joyful enthusiasm. I found myself chatting with fellow dog owners, exchanging stories and laughter, all brought together by our canine companions. After nearly an hour of sniffing, running, and canine camaraderie, Max paused at a patch of sun-drenched grass and flopped down, inviting me to join him. I sat beside him, feeling the warmth of the sun and the serenity of the moment. Max rolled onto his back, paws in the air, a picture of contentment. I followed his lead, closing my eyes and letting the world slow down. Time seemed to stretch, the usual rush of morning routines replaced by a peaceful connection to nature and the simple pleasures of being present. Soon, Max was up again, nudging me toward the path home. But he didn't take us straight back. He led me to a small cafe we often passed but rarely visited. Max sat by the door, looking up expectantly. Inside, the staff greeted us with smiles, and Max received a treat and a bowl of water. I ordered a coffee and a pastry, settling at a sidewalk table where Max could watch the world go by. He was fascinated by the people, the cars, and the occasional squirrel darting across the street. I sipped my coffee, feeling a sense of adventure and spontaneity that only comes when you let go of plans and embrace the unexpected. After breakfast, Max tugged me toward a nearby pet store. He stopped in front of the display window, tail wagging, eyes fixed on the rows of toys and treats. Inside, Max wandered the aisles, sniffing everything, his excitement palpable. I let him choose a new toy, a squeaky blue octopus that seemed to capture his imagination. The shopkeeper laughed as Max carried his prize to the register, tail held high like a flag of victory. With his new toy in tow, Max led us home. But not to rest. He trotted straight to the backyard. The grass was still damp from the morning dew, and the air was fresh, filled with the scent of blooming flowers. Max dropped the octopus and invited me to play, bowing low with his tail wagging. We spent the next hour in a joyous game of tug-of-war, fetch, and chase. Each moment was dictated by Max's enthusiasm. His energy was boundless, and his joy infectious. I laughed more in that hour than I had in weeks, caught up in the pure, unfiltered happiness of the game. Eventually, Max flopped down in the shade, panting but pleased. I sat beside him, stroking his fur as he closed his eyes, his breathing slow and content. The world felt quieter here, away from screens and schedules, guided only by the rhythms of my dog's desires. As he rested, I noticed the small things, the gentle rustle of the leaves, the distant hum of bees, the soft warmth of Max's body pressed against my leg. It was a moment of peace, a reminder of how much joy could be found in simply being together. After a short nap, Max was ready for his next adventure. He trotted inside, heading straight for the kitchen. There, he sat by his food bowl, looking up expectantly. I prepared his lunch, adding a little extra treat as a thank you for guiding my day. While Max ate, I made myself a sandwich, and we shared lunch side by side. a simple ritual that felt special in the context of today's canine-led journey. Meal finished, Max made his way to the living room and pawed at his favorite blanket. He jumped onto the couch, curling up in a tight ball, and glanced at me as if to say, "Join me." I settled in next to him, and together we relaxed, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. I picked up a book, but found myself more interested in watching Max as he dozed, his chest rising and falling, his dreams evident in the occasional twitch of his paws. The tranquility of the moment was a balm for my busy mind. When Max woke, he stretched luxuriously and trotted to the door. He barked softly, signaling it was time to go out again. This time, he led me to a nearby trail, a path we rarely explored. The woods were cool and shaded, the air filled with the earthy scent of pine and moss. Max moved with purpose, his nose twitching as he investigated every bush and branch. We walked in companionable silence, the sounds of the forest enveloping us. Birds flitted overhead, and Max paused frequently to listen, head cocked, ears alert. At one point, Max found a small creek, water trickling over smooth stones. He stepped carefully into the shallow water, lapping at the cool stream before splashing playfully. I joined him, shoes off, feet in the water, feeling the refreshment of the creek and the joy of sharing in his discovery. The simple act of following Max's lead had taken me to places I might never have ventured, revealing new corners of the world and new layers of connection between us. Our walk ended at a clearing where wildflowers bloomed in vibrant colors. Max sat among the flowers, nose buried in the petals, and I sat beside him, soaking in the beauty. The world felt expansive, possibilities endless, and all guided by the gentle wisdom of my dog. We lingered, the afternoon slipping by in a haze of sunlight and contentment. Returning home, Max seemed satisfied, his energy mellowed by the day's adventures. He settled near my feet as I checked emails and caught up on messages. But even in these moments, his presence grounded me, reminding me to pause, breathe, and appreciate the moment. When I felt the urge to rush, Max would nudge me, leading me outside, or insisting on a belly rub, a gentle reminder to slow down and enjoy the day. As evening approached, Max became restless, tail wagging and eyes bright. He led me to the kitchen again, but this time he lingered by the pantry, where his favorite treats were stored. I obliged, offering him a special biscuit, and together we watched the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. Dinner was a quiet affair, shared in the growing twilight, Max savoring his meal and me reflecting on the fullness of the day. After dinner, Max brought me his brush, a subtle hint for some grooming. As I brushed his coat, he leaned into me, eyes half closed in bliss. The simple act of caring for him felt different today, deeper, more meaningful, as if each stroke was a conversation, an exchange of gratitude for the day we'd shared. Night settled in, and Max curled up on his bed. But tonight, he looked at me, and then at the space beside him, an invitation to stay close. I lay down next to him, feeling the gentle rise and fall of his breath, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. The house was quiet, and the world outside faded to darkness, but inside, there was a sense of harmony and connection that lingered. Looking back on the day, I realized how much Max had taught me, not just about joy and adventure, but about the importance of presence, curiosity, and connection. By surrendering control and letting Max choose, I discovered new places, met new people, and found moments of peace and happiness that might otherwise have passed me by. Max's choices were simple: walk, play, rest, explore. But in their simplicity was a wisdom that often escapes us in our busy lives. I thought about the lessons woven through the day, the value of greeting others with openness, the joy of play, the peace of rest, the wonder of exploration, and the comfort of companionship. Max had shown me that life doesn't need to be complicated to be fulfilling. Sometimes, the best days are the ones shaped by love, curiosity, and the willingness to let go and follow someone else's lead. As sleep beckoned, I smiled, grateful for Max and for the day he'd given me. Tomorrow would bring its own routines and responsibilities, but today, I'd tasted the freedom and joy of living by my dog's choices. It was a reminder that sometimes the best adventures begin with a wagging tail and the trust to follow. And as I drifted off, Max snuggled close. I knew that every day could hold a little more wonder. If only I remembered to let go, listen, and embrace the journey, one paw print at a time.